Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is one of the highlights of my week, where I get to be with you and share Bhagavad Gita. And it's so nice. Sanjana is also with us today. And we're going to do the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This is, after we finish this, we'll be halfway through. And last time we did the names of the 8 chapters. I won't go into that this time. Maybe we'll do it next time. So the 9th chapter is called The Most Confidential Knowledge. Very important chapter, as they all are. Sanjana, over to you. Let me do a summary first, actually. Sorry. Just as a pearl is hidden within a shell, or a king travels surrounded by entourage, the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is hidden in the middle of the conversation. So what that's trying to say is that the most important information is contained in the book, bang in the middle, right in the middle. It's protected on all sides. So in the same way, the essence of the Gita is right in the middle of the Gita. In the 9th chapter, Krishna outlines the king of all knowledge and the most secret of all secrets. He explains the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, the perfection of spiritual practice, the ultimate goal of life. And there's 4 themes, which they normally are. First, Krishna is about to reveal confidential information about himself. He only does that to his devotee. If one is not a devotee, then one cannot get access to this confidential information. The inconceivable nature of the Lord is described. Even if we try to explain who he is, we'll never be able to do it, because we'll never be able to understand the Lord. He's inconceivable. There are many misconceptions about the Lord, and Krishna explains this and establishes the status of worshipping him exclusively, i.e., no one else, only him. And this is really powerful stuff. He really explains it in ways that we cannot make any mistakes, but still people still misunderstand the Bhagavad Gita. And then Krishna describes what happens to one who commits sin, and that person realizes he's made a mistake and then continues to engage in bhakti. So this is a really powerful chapter. Please listen attentively and let's make a start. So Sanjana, over to you.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's good to see you all again. And I see we've already got a delegation of hands up ready to read some of the first few verses. If we go to Srinithya, do you want to read the first set here?
Yes, please. Thank you. Text 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed." Text 3. To those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of the enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world.
Thanks very much, Srinithya. Really nicely read. So we get a kind of important little, I guess, preface to this knowledge about the conditions for getting this spiritual confidential knowledge as well, which Nabi Prabhu was talking about briefly in his little summary of the chapter. So what Krishna explains here is that the knowledge he is about to tell us is some of the most confidential knowledge in the universe, because it illuminates or it kind of shows to us, that's what it means by illuminates, this true position and nature of the soul. So where is the soul of God? Where is the soul of ours? How are we in relation to each other? What is the relationship between us? And so here we again kind of can think a little bit more about some of the misconceptions that there are about God. We actually see that there's quite a notion that the belief in God is intellectually mature. But in our tradition and in many other traditions as well, there's actually quite a logical and rational argument for it in terms of the complexity and design and intricate engineering of this creation actually shows to us there must be some conscious intelligence behind it. So to deny this seems actually more intellectually immature in a sense that it just seems to be quite stubborn, irrational and illogical. So Krishna explains to us that this knowledge that he's about to impart, it's quite specific about your consciousness and your state of mind. We shouldn't be envious and thinking, I could do all of that, I could design the world, I could do this, there can't be any thing, why should I have faith? Actually, you have to be in this state of non-envy and faith to understand it fully. So we should understand that actually faith is not opposed to knowledge as we often see it constructed nowadays. You're either very rational and scientific and you have knowledge, or you have faith. Some people say it's kind of like emotional, irrational. Actually, in our tradition, we see it as faith is not opposed to knowledge, but is actually a prerequisite or like a precondition for receiving it. So in the same way that perhaps to go to do your A-levels, you have to have, good GCSEs. In this way, the prerequisite for receiving spiritual knowledge is having attained your faith and having strong faith in Krishna as well. So what's this lesson 36 that we can take away from this? We should establish some deep faith within our heart about all that we've learned so far. And I have every faith that everyone's got that faith, because they're all coming here every week, determinedly learning about the Bhagavad Gita as well. And we see this quote here: Shraddha is confident, firm faith. By rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all other kind of activities, day-to-day, things like that. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. So it helps us as well, especially with a lot of conditions that under devotional service, the faith actually makes them feel like not conditions at all, but purely pleasurable things to us.
That's nicely explained. I just wanted to share, this is somebody, he's a scientist. His name is Fred Hoyle. And you must have all heard about the Big Bang theory, right? That there was a huge explosion which resulted in the creation of this whole universe in such fantastic order. Now, he coined that phrase, Big Bang theory, as a joke, actually. Big Bang theory. It was like, who's going to possibly believe this? But he was a scientist, and he was a little bit mocked for saying this, for coining that term. But then everybody started adopting it and believing in it. But look at what he has to say. We must now admit to ourselves that the possibility of life arising by chance, i.e. the Big Bang theory, by evolution, is the same probability of throwing 6 in a dice 5 million times consecutively. So 5 million times you play the dice and it's 6 every time. That's the chances of life coming from nothing. So this is a scientist himself. He's got more faith in the superior hand of God than in science. So we should also have that faith. And he also says something like this: let's be scientifically honest with ourselves. The probability of having life arise to greater and greater complexity and organization by chance is the same probability of having a tornado tearing through a junkyard and form out the other end a Boeing 707. So this is really powerful. So he's saying basically, if you had a junkyard, a dump yard, and a tornado went through it, and at the end you had suddenly a Boeing 707. How possible is that? Impossible. So you will learn in your schooling about the Big Bang Theory and how it is such a fact that it happened, but it's not at all. Even the scientists who themselves, like Mr. Hoyle, Sir Hoyle, who invented this word, Big Bang, phrase Big Bang Theory, doesn't believe it. So don't believe everything you hear in school. That's what I'm trying to say. Have faith in what Bhagavad Gita says. Okay.
Okay. I see Ishwari and Kishori have their hands up. Whichever one of you guys want to read, please go ahead.
Ishwari will read. Text 4. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Text 5. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am not the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of creation. Text 6. Understanding that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings rest in me. Text 7. O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. Text 8.